Hey, welcome to BSB TV. That was a little bit of fun. We were sitting there, we were having a chat, we were on another link, and then we went to go live, and it was deleted. But it's not anymore. I've got with me Daniel Hardcastle, and today we're going to talk about something that's critically important to all small businesses. We're specifically going to be talking to those with a professional service business.
Morning,
Daniel,
Kevin.
How are you today?
I'm really good, thank you, sir. Thanks for
That's
this
good.
opportunity.
Hey, look, thank you for helping people out. Now, when we talk about professional services, just in 5 seconds or less, what do you mean?
Our bookkeepers, accountants, lawyers, coaches, mentors, those type of people.
Yeah, fantastic. So people who are selling a service and probably selling their knowledge for a living.
Absolutely. And they tend to be solopreneurs as well that probably want to expand their business and bring people on.
Fantastic. Now, as I said, one of the great challenges that a lot of people have is, hey, I seem to generate a lot of interest, but that's not converting to sales. But that's a more complex structure than it sounds, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And look, it's a question I get a lot is how do I turn my leads into paying customers? And I get a lot of questions about how do I get leads as well. So I thought I'd break it down a little bit today. We've got about 10 minutes to go through what I call the trust triangle.
Fantastic. Trust triangle sounds a little bit confusing, but let's start. So what is that one basic question that you get more often than anything else?
I think the question I get a lot from professionals especially is, Dan, should I advertise on Facebook? And the answer is simply yes. I was an MD of a large multinational company. I traveled a lot. My head office was Amsterdam. I was away from my family. I used Facebook at least half an hour a day. And in that half an hour, I probably were looking at 50 odd paid adverts. I wasn't watching TV. I wasn't reading magazines. I was either in the boardroom or on the airplane or at the airport. And that's where I would use Facebook.
Fantastic. And look, I find that a common thing that people say to me is, Kevin, you can't get business off Facebook.
Yeah.
But nothing can be further from the truth. I know multi-million-dollar businesses whose predominant leads are coming directly out of Facebook.
Absolutely. And if you think of anything that you've bought recently, chances are you've seen it on Facebook. And we say it takes at least 15 touch points for you to get trust in a brand to be able to buy. And I wanted to talk about that trust today with the trust triangle and how companies achieve that.
Fantastic. So help us with that.
Okay. So we've all heard about the fire triangle where you need oxygen, heat, and material to burn. If you take one of those things away, and this is what the fire men and women are taught in life, you take one of those things away and the fire simply dies. And it's the same in business with trust. If you don't have the three magic things in your business, your trust will die, your business will die. So if you think about the triangle, on the top right-hand side, we have your brand, your why, who you are, how you talk to your customers. And remember, a brand isn't simply a logo. A brand is made up of your delivery, how you package your products, how your team answer the phone, your mission, vision, and values. That's what makes up a brand. On the other side of the trust triangle is your products and services. They have to be meaningful. They have to fit a need in the marketplace. People want to be able to buy your services. So if I'm a company and I've got zero and I can't balance my books, I'm desperate in need of a bookkeeper. So you must offer a service that people are looking for. Then in the bottom end of your triangle is your accessibility. How easy is it to do business with you and buy from you? And unfortunately, that's where a lot of companies go wrong. They invest a lot of time on their products and service and their brand, but make it really hard for the customer to buy.
And quite often they accidentally make it hard for customer to buy. I can remember a hilarious clip that Kogan did, whatever his face is, Kogan did, in the early days of e-commerce. And he basically put what people accidentally do in e-commerce into if it was a retail shop. For instance, he wasn't letting people in until they gave him their
details.
He said, no, you can't come in until you give me your details. But I don't know if I want anything. That's okay, but you can't come.
Yeah, exactly. And how many times, I tell you what, Jetstar is a classic example of very hard accessibility. Great brand because you know what you're going to get. Great products and service because the price is like $40 to Sydney. But if you ever tried to book a flight, you have to go through like 8 or 9 screens: accommodation screen, baggage screen, chair screen, booking some food, booking a car. And in that, you have to go, boom, no, no, no. And when you do hit yes, they're stinging you for more money. So when you come out at the end of the sales process, what was a $40 flight to Sydney ended up being a really hard journey for somebody just to navigate and pay their credit card. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Absolutely. Look, I've accidentally done that to people. I'm going to confess. So
So let's have a look at the triangle and let's break it down a little bit. So if we think about what our brand is, and we're going to bring it back to marketing qualified leads, it's all about your reach. Now, remember, people are going to look at your brand at least 15 times, and they're the touch points, we call them in marketing, before they come and buy your product. So if you think if you've bought audio or if you've bought masterclass, how many times did you see those adverts on Facebook? And how many adverts did you read? And then did you read the people's comments before you actually made a purchase?
yeah, absolutely. I do all the time. So, and look, I'm one of these gluttons for punishment. And if I see something that I'm interested in, I'll click on the ad and then I'll ignore it because I know they're going to keep sending it to me because I probably want to talk to my partner about it. And I'll go, hey, look, this is the ad. And it's easy to find then.
Exactly, exactly. So look, reach is all about not necessarily Facebook advertising, but reach is getting your audience to give you something. And that might be their name and their telephone number and their email. So if you think about your reach, it's probably your sales funnel or it's probably your website. And in there, you've got one clear call to action. Do this and you'll get this. And you see it a lot with professionals, especially coaches. Download my book. You put your detail, my free book, or download this one page, or book a strategy call with me. Once we've gathered that data, then we can start remarketing to them our products and services. And Kevin, a lot of professionals don't know this, but when you collect a really good database, it's part of your goodwill. It's part of you can actually put it on your balance sheet as a value. Because if you had 5,000, 6,000 engaged people and you could then target them with a newsletter, then it becomes a real value and asset to your business. So if you are looking at selling your professional business and wanting to exit, a database is a really good way of valuing your goodwill.
Absolutely. But as you just said, it isn't about that first piece of information that goes out there. It's about the consistency of regularly being in front of a similar audience so that you do have that regularity, and that regularity is really building, hopefully, likability, but also the start of trust.
Exactly. So if you think about that brand and you're talking to your customers through your brand, what are your values? What do you stand for? This is who we are. And Apple do that extremely well. And then if we look at the other side of the triangle, you're now looking at your products and services. So what you need to do is you need to get out into the marketplace and show your product and services. So yes, there's the digital side, but let's focus now on that human contact. So in there, we can talk about networking, and we can talk about actually having a strategy call or meeting your customers for a coffee. I want to touch here that your first 7 seconds is going to be the most important 7 seconds of your customer journey. Your likability is going to happen in that first 7 or less seconds. And a lot of people don't realize that. So having a really good elevator pitch, and an elevator pitch is something that they did back in the Hollywood days when an executive went from floor to floor in an elevator and a screenwriter would jump in. He had about 20 seconds to tell the producer about his pitch. So the elevator pitch is, who you are, what do you do, and why you're different to anybody else in the market. And if you can tell your prospective people who you are, what you do, and how you solve it in about 15, 20 seconds, then that likability goes up. But also, people don't like to be sold to. I have a really good blog out there around about shouting at your customers. And I bring it back to the analogy of being in a bar. If you're in a bar and you see somebody, you wouldn't go up there and say, hey, my name's Daniel, would you like to come back to my hotel room? But we do that in networking meetings. I see it all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've covered brand, we've covered products and services, and getting people into into your sales funnel or into your sales system. What about that accessibility?
Yeah, that's really important. So that's the transaction, right? Once they're a customer, or once they're thinking about being a customer, how do you then turn them into repeat customers? And a repeat, you could have one customer that buys 5 times a year from you. So looking after that one customer is really important. A lot of businesses don't tend to look at their base customers. And again, the database is really good here. Newsletters, email campaigns, phone calls. And in there, you try and do a survey, win something informational, maybe new products or discounts. And Kevin, you've just done a newsletter, and I opened it up today, and I won't say who the winner was, but I hope that person's reached out to you already. What an amazing newsletter that you put out there.
Thanks. And literally, that newsletter is just there to help people know what's coming up this week, to get a quick business tip, and to do what I call our pub draw. So basically, every week, we're going to keep jackpotting it by $50 a week until there's a winner, and then we'll start at $50 and do the same. But you've got to reach out to claim the prize. You don't win unless you reach out. And that's a way that we can find out who's reading the newsletter.
So your one call to action then is open up the newsletter, see if you're a winner. And by the way, there's other cool stuff in there if you want it.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I think people do that poorly. They have 4 or 5 mixed messages or 4 or 5 actions. Please just have one call to action in your transaction or your accessibility part. And if you are in e-commerce, get the clicks from gathering information to credit card in about 4 screens. If you have too many screens, the customer will simply switch off. Go and check your abandoned baskets, because they're the people that you can retarget to very easily. So Kevin, if I can just recap, it's all about trust. If you don't have trust in your brand or your organization or your products, people simply won't buy. And in that trust, it's that triangle. Have a really good brand and how you speak to your customers. Have some amazing products and services that people simply want to buy, and make it super easy for them to buy through the accessibility. And once you achieve that, and once you've built that trust, you'll just explode in sales. It'll just be that tipping point, that glass ceiling breakthrough that you're looking for.
Fantastic. Daniel, look, wealth of information this morning. I know that some people might want to follow up and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to encourage people watching to put some comments down below and ask some questions, because Daniel is a wealth of knowledge. He's worked for Fortune 500 companies. He's worked for, solopreneurs and everything in between. If you're interested in finding out more about how you can build that trust triangle, I suspect that if we put a little bit of pressure on Daniel, he will be happy to do a webinar for us. But let's find out by putting some comments down below. So thanks very much today.
No problem. Hey, if you go onto my sales funnel, my website, there is a webinar in there that talks about the trust triangle. So you just go on to bcgconsult.com.au, and on there you can book a strategy call with me.
Fantastic. So thanks very much for your time today, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
Take care. Bye.